Welcome back to Saving the Republic. And folks, I think we might have temporarily done that. Okay. Just a reminder here, we are presented by GYG or Grab Your Gear Network. We speak to people who work hard every day, trades workers and merit shop workers. Shout out to y'all because I think you guys showed up for this election. All right. We all did. And we saw something really remarkable, a very clear and decisive victory for President Trump. And, you know, what I want to talk about today that's very important for you guys to pay attention to is going to be this upcoming race for Senate Majority Leader, all right? And this is what we're going to get into in today's show, is how President Trump's agenda could legitimately be sabotaged to a certain degree. Not fully, but could be sabotaged to a certain degree if the wrong person becomes the Senate Majority Leader, okay? So firstly, let's recap what all just happened. And also I want to say set is going to be a little bit different. The video quality is not the same right now as I am currently overseas and will be here for a little while. So I'm going to try to figure some things out with the set, maybe get a better video quality in the coming shows, but things will look a little bit differently for the near future. So just keep that in mind. But just to recap, so it's been 3 days since Election Day. President Trump won 312 electoral votes. The popular vote, he is currently up 4 percentage points, which is insane. And the left has been reeling. Okay, we have seen several examples of this. I'm sure you guys have seen the montage reels of the meltdowns. It's very reminiscent of 2016. But a very decisive victory. One that you can't deny. One that you can't debate and dispute, and especially you can't have, like Hillary had in 2016, the ability to claim, hey, I won the popular vote, therefore most Americans want me as president. No, not this time around. Most Americans spoke very loud and clear that they want Donald Trump as the president. And I think it was a very clear indictment on where things stand in the country. You know, some conversations I had with people that I know, friends and family, and also just people in general about this result, is that this is not just a political victory, guys. This is a very seismic win. I would say even a spiritual victory, a shift in the direction of the country. I saw one of the first news stories to come out after this election result was how, the cases against Donald Trump from the DOJ level are going to be dropped almost immediately. The crackdown on free speech is another thing that we're going to get into on today's show. But the battle for free speech just got at least another 4 more years on its side. Okay, civil liberties, the freedom to speak your mind, the freedom to gather, the freedom to be able to, have a say in your child's education, the freedom to live in your state or your town and not worry about violent migrants impeding upon your way of life. These are massive shifts and massive victories and outcomes of this election. So, firstly, I want to say, like I said last time, shout out to you guys at home. You voted. Ohio, my home state, our home state, a lot of my viewers swung very hard for Trump. Okay, I'm going to pull up the election result right here. As you can see, just incredible. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Ohio used to be a swing state, all right? And, seeing Trump win the state by 11 points is really something to behold. And not even that. If you look at Florida was a whole other level, all right? Florida was 13 percentage points for Donald Trump. A massive victory. I think he won by 5 in 2020, an 8-point swing to Trump. That, by the way, is going to become even more important as time goes on, as Florida is set to gain some electoral votes in the next census. I saw Ben Shapiro talking about this, but Just to give you guys an idea about what I'm talking about with freedom of speech, check out this clip from Van Jones on what needs to be done following this unexpected election result, at least for them.
There are two sets of laws and rulings we have to deal with. The Supreme Court has allowed this unlimited amount of money dumping in. And then, there are legal protections that allow these companies to do what they want to and do what they will. I think in a normal country, we would say, hold on a second, maybe we need to have a different set of regulations for social media platforms now that they're this big. Maybe we need to have less money in the system. Mm-hmm. But that conversation is not happening yet.
So we need to have more regulations on social media companies. We need to regulate speech. And I saw The View talking about this as well. And I mean, how weak of an argument do you have to have? How weak of an ideology do you have to need to have your thumb on the scale and to control the conversation in order to win? And this is why we are seeing such shifts to Trump and the right. Joe Rogan endorsing Donald Trump. I mean, people take that for granted, but the guy was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Socialized medicine, socialized healthcare, universal basic income. This is not a conservative guy. The right is getting such a shift toward its side because really the right is now becoming, like Trump says a lot, the party of common sense, but it's the party of liberty, right? Anti-censorship, anti-war. We don't want war. And we're seeing this all over the place. People do not know how to accept the results of this election. Another interesting clip here from Charlemagne the God in the Breakfast Club on the quote-unquote threat to democracy that Donald Trump posed.
I will say this. I'm glad everybody's having a sense of optimism because the reality is we have no choice because we're here now. Donald J. Trump is going to be the 47th president of the United States of America, like it or not. And we all hope for the best for this country. That's all we can do. But don't y'all find it strange that now that he's won, they're not calling him a threat to democracy? They're not calling him a fascist. I mean, damn, on Monday.
They're not calling him anything.
They can't. On Monday, they was just calling him that. I would think that, if you really believe that, then somebody's speech would be about how America effed up and how things are about to be really bad.
He's the most powerful man in the world now.
Well, it just makes you wonder how much of it did they really believe or how much of it was just politics.
Now, the idea that Donald Trump, that they're not saying these things because Donald Trump is going to go after them is honestly pretty laughable. So, yeah, clearly, like he said, Charlemagne is a smart man, and he knows his constituency. Black men went for Trump in this election, much more than they had previously. I saw in Texas, 34% of black males voted for Trump. Latino men voted for Trump. All these groups, young people, went 10 points for Trump. So they know the things they're spewing is just not true. And I think this is why Joe Rogan ultimately ended up endorsing Trump, is because he saw just the repeated lies, right? It's not even like, this statement may or may not be true. It's contested. It's, taking out different interpretations based on context. No, these are deliberate, obvious lies. The Charlottesville hoax. We can go down the list of all the different hoaxes for Donald Trump that they spewed out. Russiagate, right? Going after his political opponents. There's just so many examples to point to of this idea. And so, yeah, it's just people are waking up to the truth. And, the idea as well, I want to touch on this before we get into the Senate majority race. The idea that X is going to become, or that X is like some problem for freedom of speech, for misinformation. All that X is an open platform. That's it. Open discussion. If you have a problem with open discussion and you feel the need to control the conversation, I think you should take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, who really is supportive here of the freedom of speech? That's what you need to ask yourself. Now, moving on to the Senate majority race. The current frontrunner, apparently, there's two frontrunners, John Thune and John Cornyn. These people are rhinos, okay? We can go down the list of their support, billions to Ukraine, voting with the Uniparty every single time. John Thune on record several times questioning Donald Trump, especially in the midst of his legal problems, was not supportive, did not like him in 2016. All these examples of his non-support for the president. And so why would this person be the right guy to lead the job as Senate Majority Leader? And you can see here from Donald Trump Jr. back in February, Rhino Senators Thune and Cornyn want to replace Mitch McConnell. Both of them voted to send billions to Ukraine. MAGA must do everything in our power to stop either of these two rhinos from ever becoming Senate leader. Okay? So he said it in the past. Now, is he going to recognize it this time, or is he that opposed to it this time? I don't know. But there is an option, if I can find it here really quickly, from Charlie Kirk that is really interesting. Charlie Kirk had an idea of who could be Senate Majority Leader that is very unconventional, and I think you guys should listen to. Sadly, can't find the clip here, but Charlie Kirk was on the Blaze TV with Glenn Beck talking about how John Adams actually, I think in 1800, was the Senate president as the vice president is, but also was a Senate Majority Leader all in one role. And that is possible. It's legal. It's an option. Not to say it would happen, but J.D. Vance could potentially be the Senate Majority Leader. Another name that's going around is Rick Scott, senator from Florida, who has been more supportive of President Trump, who has been more on the record of supporting him. You know, that's a candidate that I think would be much better off for the Trump agenda. But the reality is this, guys. The president is enforcing the laws. The president is the executive of the country. And so in order to really be effective and to really implement change in this country, you know, you have to pass legislation. And for that to happen, it has to go through the House and the Senate. Now, the House race is actually very close right now. And just to give you guys one final update on that to wrap up the show, the House race is going to determine whether the Republicans have complete control of government. And this race is getting really, really close. Okay, just today, the odds were at 93% here on Decision Desk. And they just went down to 81%. So things are not looking as good on the House side of things, which is very, very critical that Republicans are able to control the House. But 81% still pretty high. I do think that this will happen. I think the Republicans will maintain the majority in the House. But as I was saying, if Trump wants to be effective, in his term and his time as president, he needs to have a majority leader in the Senate who's going to carry forth his agenda, who's going to carry forth the agenda of the people, who's going to listen to and carry out the mandate of the American people. Because we've seen it time and again, these guys in the Senate, these guys in the House that are not loyal to the American people get in there and they do their own thing, and they feel, disconnected. They feel above the people. They just do what they want. They get their money. They get their donors. And they ignore what we actually want. And they slip in things like mandating that all cars have a kill switch and sending money to Ukraine and all these horrible things for the country. They do it because guess what? They get money from lobbyists. They get money from donors. That's how it works, guys. That's how this business works. So your job, your duty as a voter, as somebody who voted in this election, as somebody who has something on the line at stake, use your voice to speak out, ideally on social media, against this idea of Thune or Cornyn becoming the majority leader. I do believe Trump is aware of the issue here of what that could potentially look like if one of those are the majority leader. So hopefully we don't have to use our voice solely. Hopefully he has some people on the inside advising him on this. But regardless, I wanted to let you guys know, yeah, there is a chance that part of this agenda could be sabotaged if the wrong person is given that job. So if you guys enjoyed the show today, let me know down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to Saving the Republic. We're live 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I will see you on Monday. Take care.